Welcome to the podcast. My name's Michelle. I'm a divine healer. I help people to heal and stay healed by understanding why they got sick in the first place or understanding what was the cause of their unhappiness. And we discover these things because all the work we do together is at a soul level. So today we're going to talk about closure and its role in forgiveness. Now, I know I talk about forgiveness a lot because I think that it is really, truly a big issue, because when we hold unforgiveness within ourselves, we're holding resentment, anger, sadness, disappointment, guilt, grief, all these types of things, and these things are very heavy, dense, low frequency energies, and as long as we hold those within ourselves, we will not be free. And I want you all to be free. And as long as we hold these things within ourselves, we are creating negative consciousness forms that go out, harm that other person. And I know that they harmed you, and so maybe you don't care. But it's going to go out and it's going to harm that other person. It's going to harm their psyche, and it is going to come back and be returned back to you in the exact same form that you sent it out. So sometimes people say, well, I forgive them when they apologize, when they admit what it is that they did. And I'm going to tell you here, I have never gotten an apology from the person, for the people that I have forgiven. Never. No, they didn't. And I didn't need it, because it was my perception of what happened that changed, that created the forgiveness. So I'm going to tell you the story. If you've been listening to me for a while, then you probably already know this one. But I'm going to tell you about the forgiveness between me and my dad, so that you can get it, because maybe you've had something similar. And this can also serve as a warning that if you do not forgive, you're going to have to do it again with that same person. Do you want to do that? Probably not. So I had, this is about 10 years ago, I had been taking my hypnosis training. And upon this training, we regressed to a past life, which I got to tell you, before I started doing what I do, I didn't actually even really believe in those. And I still got to tell you, I do believe in them now, but there's no way to know whether this is just passed down through your DNA, whether this, there's no way to prove these things yet. But anyways, so I have this past life session, and the woman who did my training, we go back, I see this life, and I, see this man who has done something to my child. See, I got to be careful when I speak about these things, because I do not want to recreate things in the future. So it can be difficult to tell stories, but yet I need to tell you these stories so that you can understand. He did something horrible to my family. He was not part of my family in this life. Now, this session that I'm having, we ran out of time. It's at the end of the day, and she pulls me out of state, which I was then extremely disturbed. And I had this energy running through my body. I'd never felt this before, and I was extremely disturbed. So I learned two things that day. I learned about that past life, and I also learned what not to do when working with someone in state. And because that woman was such a blessing to me by showing me exactly what not to do, I have not done it to anyone else. So it was a blessing, although at the time it was not. But I guess even at the time it was. It just didn't feel that way. So she pulls me out of state. I'm completely disturbed, and I have to go over to my friend's house, which I happen to be staying in the city. And I said, hey, dude, this is what happened. I need you to put me back into state and help me in some way. And so, thankfully, she was a psychologist, and she was the one who had told me that I should be taking hypnosis training in the first place, and so she helped me and got me back to normal. However, here's the weird part. Now, normally when I'm working with past lives, people will go back to one life, they'll resolve it, whatever it happens to be, then they'll go to another life, and another life, and another life. They don't go back to the same one over and over and over and over again. However, for myself, I kept going back to this same life. So clearly something was not resolved here. She brought me back into it. Still wasn't resolved. And I believe it was about 6 times. This is not normal. But 6 times that I went back to that same life, working with different people. And it was not intentionally going back to this place, except for the last time. I was working with my friend Gary. And he's a wonderful astrologist who's been practicing for now over 50 years. And he had had some hypnosis training, and so when me and him were having a session, not even hypnosis, this life came up, and he goes, oh, well, I have my training here, let me help you deal with this. And so he was the one who helped me resolve this and understand it completely. So what happened in that life, sorry for the long story, was that this man, who was not part of my family, had done something to my child. So I went and got revenge on this man, and I did to him about 6-fold what he had done to me. The next thing I know is I see myself in this life passing on and floating up. And so the practitioner says to me, what happened? And what happened after I passed on was I go up and I meet this man up in the clouds, so it appeared. And at this moment, this man who I had got revenge on and who had ultimately ended my life, we both understood and we both knew. And there was this moment of, oh, it was about forgiveness. And because we did not forgive, we both knew, dang it, we have to come back and do it again. That was the entire purpose of that life, was forgiveness. There was other things we learned as well, beautiful things, and there was something there that had stopped my voice in that life too, that I saw, that I meant to and wanted to speak out and say something, but I didn't, because I felt that it wasn't manly to say so. And so I didn't, and so it also stopped my voice, so that wasn't the only thing that came from that life. I had wanted to tell my wife, because I was a man in that life, that I loved her, but because my life was being ended in front of a whole huge crowd of people, and I was so proud and so brave, I didn't tell her. So that was another lesson I needed to learn. But upon understanding that that life was about forgiveness and that I should not have gotten revenge, but I should have found it within me to forgive this person, we realized we had to do it all over again. So, how does that work? Well, we're going to have to come back here, and this person is going to have to be in this life with me, and they are going to have to do something to me that is going to be very difficult to forgive. Because if I don't need to forgive somebody, how am I going to forgive them? How am I going to learn that lesson if they haven't done the thing? So it was upon realizing this, that how am I going to learn a lesson in forgiveness if nobody does anything to me that needs to be forgiven? So this person comes back in my life and happens to be my father. So there was many, many years of resentment, and I'm going to tell you, because you know that resentments and things like that manifest in the physical body. I had kidney stones when I was 16 years old. This is obviously not something that is normal. But because I was so cold, emotionally turned off because I had been hurt, my body really manifests in a physical way, because the energy that's holding there manifests in a physical way because I was not in tune with my emotions. So it was coming up to tell me to deal with something, but of course at that time I didn't understand this. So there was many years that I did not even speak to my father, that I was so resentful and angry with him that I didn't even speak to him. Now, I don't know exactly when it was, because it was not at that moment that I realized that it was about forgiveness. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but my heart definitely would have softened at that point. Now, I took little baby steps, and I knew at one point, like, oh, I need to forgive, and then I saw this thing on Gaia, and the dude said, did you know that they did this study, and upon forgiveness, people could actually jump higher? And I was like, dang it, well, I want that. And to me, this is just showing that you're more light-bodied, right? You're not heavy and dense and weighed down. So I thought, oh, I need to do this. So I began, as he suggested, with something really small. He said, forgive the teller that was rude to you. Well, I had never had that, but I knew I needed to forgive my dog because she would really annoy me when she would ring the bells at the back door all the time and want to go out every 15 seconds when she didn't even have to go pee. Right? It's taken time out of my day, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? This is the 47th time that you've gone out in the last 90 minutes. How is this possible? And so I was annoyed with her, so I thought, well, that's a really good way to start. I'm just going to start by forgiving my dog. So I thought about it for a second, and I thought, you know what? I'm the only thing that she has in this whole life. And it was that. That's all that it took, was me realizing I'm the only thing that she's got, that I was immediately softened and thought, oh, that's okay. You can go pee 7,100 times. I don't even care anymore. And I forgave her in that moment, which is weird that you would need to forgive a dog, right? But I was annoyed. So forgiveness was necessary. So I forgave her. This is how I started. Then it came to me over the next, I'm not sure how long, because it has been years and years and years since I've forgiven him, so I don't exactly remember now, but it came to a point where I realized I needed to forgive him, and I softened to him, and I knew he came here to harm me so that I could forgive him, and so then I could forgive in this way. So I want you to know, whoever it is that you're still holding resentment against, they have been a gift and a blessing to you. And I know it doesn't seem that way. I know it. I've had the abusive boyfriend that was beating the crap out of me a couple days before I had my son. I've forgiven him, and I love and only want good and wonderful things. And I mean this 100,000,000%. I mean it from the bottom of my heart, that I only want good and wonderful things for this man who really, the only good and wonderful thing that he gave me was my son, and besides that, he gave me lessons and learning. And I'm so thankful for it, and I truly am. I truly, truly, truly am so thankful for it. Why am I thankful for it? Because I am who I am today, and I wouldn't be had that not happened. Had I not been with an abusive man when I was this young teenager, I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be as strong as I am. I wouldn't be as powerful as I am. I needed it. And not only that, I then had to go on because I had not resolved that. I had not resolved the thing with my father. I did not resolve the thing with my teenage boyfriend. And because I had not, I had these patterns of belief within myself that then manifested out in my marriage, and then I ended up having to forgive the man that I was married to. Now, I was pissed at my ex-husband when I realized, when I found out what it was that he was doing, what it was that he did. Pissed. And I felt like my life was completely over, destroyed, done. And it was, as I knew it to be, because I was a stay-at-home mom who was homeschooling my children. I have 4 children. And I was completely betrayed by this man. And my life as I knew it was over. And so for about 6 months, I wished I was dead. Because I didn't know, I couldn't see the way forward. I didn't know what my life could be like, not the way that it had been. I had been practicing hypnotherapy for many years at this time, but had never really needed to even make money to survive, because he did that. That was the role he was playing. I was caring for the family and the children, and I didn't know what to do. And was so heartbroken at that time. And so when you're in the thick of it, if you happen to be in the thick of it, I get it. And I know, and you got to feel it, and you just got to get through it, and time will make it better, honey. But if it's been many years, and it's been a lot of time, and you're still holding that resentment, then let's look at this, and it's time to let them go so that you can heal and take back control of that part of their life, of your life, that they're still in control of. Because if you're still harboring any resentment or hate or anything like this, grief from the loss of whatever it is, you're holding that within your vibration, and you're manifesting it in the right now. And it's playing out in your life in the right now. And you'll be able to witness it in your life right now. So when I realized, and I've realized so many things, but isn't it so funny, and isn't this so true, that let's say that your friend is in, some type of something, and you see it so clearly from the outside, but they're in it and they don't see it. This is all of us, darling. When you're in it, sometimes you don't see it. You know, okay, everything happens for a reason, but I don't know that reason yet. And until we find out that reason, it's like we're suffering in some way. But when I look at this now, he, my ex-husband, spiritually suppressed me. He would always tell me, oh, you need to be corporate. You need to be less weird. You need to stop talking about these things. You're weird. And I'm like, dude, pretty sure you knew that when you married me. Yeah, I'm freaking weird. I'm spiritual, and I can't help it. It is my nature. It's who I am. It's who I've been since I was a tiny little child. I remember being a little kid, like 4, and sitting in my room and just thinking, I messed up. I didn't do this thing perfect, and just being so annoyed with myself, thinking, we just have to come back and do it all over again. We just have to come back and do it all over again. And I remember being so annoyed, thinking like, we just got to live this life over and over and over and over and over again. Because when you're that little, you're still in tune with the spirit. And thankfully, I had a wonderful mother who was also intuitive, who harnessed the gifts that I had within myself and didn't make me out to be crazy, because I used to hear voices and see things. But she understood, and she knew that I was really hearing and seeing these things, and that I wasn't just some crazy person, but that I was tuned into the spirit world. However, had I not had her for a mother, which thank you that I've had her, what a blessing she has been in my life, I don't know how that would have ended up. And I know that this has happened to many, many children, that they have this, because that we all do, but that often our parents will shut that off within us. But that too is the gift. So this is not even a bad thing, but this is a gift. But that would have really drastically changed my life. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Now, realizing that I was being suppressed and that I couldn't be me. I didn't have this podcast when I was with him. Sure, I was studying the Christ letters. I was doing this all on my own with no support from him. Of course, that's wonderful. I wrote a book. I channeled a book from the divine, and I got it published in 2018. It's called The Way to Peace. You can buy it on Amazon for a few dollars. And it's a channeled message from the divine. He didn't even read it. And it's not a very long book. It's easy to read. He would read other things, but he didn't support me in these ways at all. And so when I was so heartbroken and so destroyed for how many months, thinking my life is over and this and that, when I finally left and I came to that realization, which took some time, of wow, I'm free now. I get to be myself. I don't have somebody telling me not to be myself. I hadn't even realized that this was happening to me for the previous 20-some years. Almost 25 years, 23, 24, somewhere around there. I hadn't even realized, didn't even know. that it was a suppression of who I actually am. That's what was occurring. That's what was going on. And so when I left, and all of a sudden I'm in this feeling of freedom and whatnot, and I've realized this, what a blessing it was. Not just to be married to him. Me and him had fun. I can have fun with anybody. Not only did I have good years with him, but upon not being with him anymore, what a blessing it's been, because I wouldn't be me right now, but I didn't even realize that I wasn't being me, because I was so used to being suppressed and thought, oh, I'll conform, I'll be this way so that there wouldn't be any conflict, which, let me tell you, there was a lot of conflict anyway. But upon realizing that, I realized what a beautiful gift this is. Had he not done the things that he had done, I would still be with that man. I would still be suppressed. What a gift to not be with him. Thank you. Thank you to him. Thank you to the divine. And of course, everything is always divine timing. But I got to tell you, darlings, I didn't see it coming. And it friggin' hurt at that time. But because I realized that I wouldn't be myself, and that I get to be myself, what a blessing it is. And I have not only forgiven him, I had this feeling of knowing, he will have the karma from what he did to me, and all that pain that he inflicted on me will be returned back to him. And it almost just broke my heart in this way that I thought, what? Oh, I don't want him to have to suffer in that way, because I honestly didn't think that he'd be able to handle it. But then I realized, no, it was through my greatest suffering that the greatest, most wonderful things have come. And so perhaps this too will be the case for him. And the divine told me years ago that he would come to the enlightenment in this life. And so I believe that he will. But it is only through great suffering and through great pain, for myself anyways, that I came to that. And so if you have gone through great suffering or great pain, use it, my darlings. Use it. Heal it. I went up to my cabin with the intent of enlightenment and knowing I needed to forgive. Do you know how hard it is to forgive someone who has repeatedly betrayed you? It's very difficult. But I knew that it had to happen. And the moment that it happened, I set myself free. And I also set him free. And so if you are forgiving someone and you're like, okay, I've set myself free, but I don't want them to be free, then you have not forgiven them. There's more work that needs to be done. Because you will want that same freedom for that person. Because it almost takes enlightenment to understand that what they did to you was a true blessing. Let's say that you had a mother and she was not a good mother. What a blessing that is in your life. I know it does not seem this way, but you are who you are today because of that woman. You would be somebody else. You would be different. And you're supposed to be who you are right now. You have become more powerful. You have gained strength. And as soon as you heal that with your mother, then it's going to change the relationships that come in your life. Because if you are a man and you had a mother that was not good to you, that was not perfect for you, I mean, she was, but you know what I'm saying, then you, I can almost guarantee you, unless you healed it at a young age, but if you didn't heal it, then you have had relationships that have manifested in your life that are mimicking that relationship that you had with your mother. Perhaps you feel abandoned by the people that you're with if she abandoned you. Perhaps you feel abused by the person that you're with because she abused you. But these patterns will repeat until you heal them. But it is a blessing and it is a gift, because you can now see these patterns and you can know that what I'm saying to you is truthful. That you manifest your belief. So as soon as you change that belief, and as soon as you forgive your mother, then the next relationship that comes into your life will be a wonderful one. But I see that it takes time, and that we think that we healed these things and that we do not. Because I thought, oh, I've completely healed this thing. And yes, I forgave the person, but I didn't heal the beliefs underneath it that had attracted it to me, or that had attracted it into my life in the first place. But the other day, maybe about a month ago, I realized and I saw through a ceremony with sacred medicine that there had been a curse that was put on my family generations back. And in that moment that I realized that, I healed it. Now, this was a curse that was put on me, and it had to do with men treating women terribly. And when I look through the history of the family, I see exactly where it came from. I know what side of the family, I know where it came, and I know where it began, and I can see how that played out in the family line. But because I healed this, now I don't have to deal with that anymore. And my children, the girls, don't have to deal with that anymore, because it's been broken. Because I was brave enough to heal it and to rebuke that curse. But even that curse, whoever put it on me, it does not matter. Whoever put it on my family, it does not matter, because it too was a blessing. Because it forced healing. And I know that might sound like something like, oh, why would you want that? Why would you want that? Because it's about spiritual growths, my darling. And when we grow spiritually, it means that we've had to do hard and difficult things, like forgiving someone that maybe you believe doesn't deserve that forgiveness, but trust me, they do. Because you came here with an agreement with that person that they would cause harm to you, and that there would have to be forgiveness. But you also perhaps played that role in somebody else's life, and so you've been holding on to guilt and shame. You agreed before you came here that you would play that role, that you would do this for that person. I'm not making an excuse for your behavior. What I'm saying is, it happened because it was meant to happen that way, because you agreed to play that role. So it's not only forgiveness of the other person, but sometimes there is self-forgiveness that is needed too. And I'm not saying, it's just an excuse, we agreed, so I need to forgive myself. No. This is like the deepest understanding that exists of that we are all connected, and for that person to grow, they needed that thing to happen to them. And for you to grow, you needed that thing to happen to you. So there is nothing to forgive, because it's all been a blessing. It was all agreed upon beforehand, and if you don't want to forgive, it's totally your free will. You can make decisions and choices. That is your free will. You can choose. But as soon as you choose to forgive, you will set yourself free, and you will also set that person free. So when I forgave that abusive ex-boyfriend of mine, so I'm pregnant with his child, and he has, he's beaten the crap out of me, and he was so abusive to his little sister. Like, he was a very, very abusive man. But when I forgave him, which it was easy to forgive him, and I say that, but it honestly took me 18 years. But it was easy to forgive him when I decided it was time to forgive him, because I saw him as the little child that he was when his father left his family. He was 7, I think. And his father never came back. And up until that point, his father was so abusive towards his mom. He used to put his cigarettes out on her body. He would put them out on her. And I saw this little boy who would have been witness to that, and it almost made me cry. It might have even at the time, but I felt so much compassion for him, and so I understood the abuse that he had towards me, and he was immediately forgiven. And I had so much compassion, and I knew he was married and had kids. At least I think he was married, but he was with a woman and had kids, and I had seen a picture of them a few years previous, and I just remember seeing that picture in my heart just breaking and hoping that he was not doing to them what he had done to me. But when I forgave this man, and I set myself free, and I set him free and whatnot, and I realize now the extent of that, because it was not very long later. But keep in mind, I had not talked to him in 18 years. I then receive a message from him on Facebook apologizing to me for how badly he treated me. Now, had he sent me this message before I had forgiven him, it would not have been a welcome message. It would have got me really freaking upset. He knows where we are. This is what's going to happen. He blah, 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 blah. It would have sent me into a spiral of panic. But because it came after I forgave him, I opened it up. There was this feeling of peace and, oh, well, that's nice. Look, he's apologizing. Cool. So I casually wrote him back, totally cool, all good, dude. I don't even remember what it was that I said, but I genuinely meant, like, it's all good. And that was it. And that's the last time that I spoke to him. And what a wonderful thing, because I set him free when I forgave him, and I genuinely wanted good for him, and it actually set him free. And I know that through the confirmation of him then sending me a message and the tone of that message. I know that my forgiveness was a blessing in his life. So be a blessing in someone else's life. And I know this can be so difficult. Trust me, I've been there, and I'm telling you, it was friggin' 18 years to forgive him. It was years of not speaking to my dad before I came to the point that it was like, oh, I guess I need to forgive this person. But when you can look at your life and you can look at the fact that you wouldn't be who you are today had that not happened, it can really change things for you. So did I get any apologies from these people? No, I did from my ex-husband. He apologized. But the other two that I forgave, I had no extension of please forgive me, no nothing. I had to do this all on my own. And so if you are sitting there and you are waiting for an apology from someone, don't. Because you may never get it. And you then will have this within you until you don't, until you die. So find it within your heart and realize that if you do not forgive, you got to come back. You got to do it all over again. Do you want to come back? Do you want to do that all over again? I know you don't. I know you don't. But when we forgive, as they say, it sets you free, because unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. It's not going to happen. And I know that you can be so resentful. This person did this to me. They do not deserve my forgiveness. It doesn't matter if they deserve it or not. The forgiveness is for you, to set you free. But once you set yourself free, then you will see, oh, they need to be free too. Thank you for doing what you did to me, because it allowed me to not have you in my life anymore, which then set me free to be me. Or whatever it happens to be. That's how I view that with my ex. I would still be being spiritually suppressed. So thank you for setting me free. So whoever it is that you need to forgive, that you must forgive so that you don't got to do it all over again, take your time. It doesn't need to happen this moment, although that would be wonderful if it did. If something that was said could illuminate you, that you could set them free, you will know, you will know, you will know, because you will want just as much goodness for them as you do for yourself. And when we can realize that we're all one, that we're all connected, that we all come here, and that we have to work all together in perfect harmony. Yes, I'm going to harm you so that you can learn this. Yes, you're going to harm me so that I can learn this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's nothing to forgive. When we can get into that flow and we can understand that, we've already evolved spiritually. And what a beautiful blessing that is for us, for that person, and for the other people that we come into contact with, because then we can teach them this as well. And we can create less resentment in the world. Because when we get rid of all that resentment and we realize, oh, this is why, this is why, this is why, then the wars end. All the chaos and the destruction ends. Because they all come from those low frequencies. And when we get rid of them, when we forgive, oh, we lift up the planet, and what a beautiful thing that is. I love you all so much. Thank you guys for tuning in here today. Thank you for your likes, for your comments, and for subscribing to the channel. And please share this with a friend if you know somebody that's like hating on somebody and they feel like, you know this person needs forgiveness. Maybe this will help them out too, but you will intuitively know who to send it to and who not to send it to. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.